Want to trade with Rithika? Join Chase at www.laductrading.com/chase.
Hope you had a great week. So last week we did ended up having a bit of a breakout, but as you can see on news, we did gap down. And once we held below 6,000, we came back down to fill this gap at 59.70 and support at 59.63. You may be wondering what's next. So I am still bullish that the market will go make a new high. We could see some digestion in the market. If 59.64 breaks, I could see a retest of 5900, and maybe a little more weakness persists. We could come down into 57.91. But primarily I am looking for this to continue moving to the upside. I do see 6600 in the near future. I did draw this blue path a long time ago. We are still slowly grinding our way to the upside. On QQQ we can actually see that more, given that kind of broke out of the channel and now we're trying to form a new channel. We know that this level 536 is resistance, and we did kind of reject that level. So I am still looking for QQQ to break out of that 536 and proceed higher to that 580, 590 level. If we do break below 527, could see a little bit of weakness into 511, maybe even 500. But I am looking for any selling to get bought back up and continue moving to the upside in the market. IWM also ended up kind of having a bounce, and now you can see it's trying to get back into the channel it broke out of. Again, any digestion above 200 still is healthy, and we likely continue pushing higher. You look at the dollar, for example, we are continuing to have weakness. We are actually the bottom of this weekly channel, so be wary here. Any dollar bounce could cause some selling in the market. So though I'm not saying it won't go lower, I'm saying the dollar is pretty extended lower, but that's not to say we can't continue down, right? So let's look at the 10-year. Again, we are sideways, kind of in no man's zone, still continuing to maintain that level. You look at the chart of wicks, for example, you can see here that 21 is a resistance. As long as we stay below 21 to 23, I don't really expect any significant selling. If you can break 23.9-ish, then I would be interested in market volatility. Otherwise, I'm still looking for this to head back down into 14 and eventually 11 on the wicks, so there's no changes to that. So with that being said, let's look at this week's watch list. The first one I have is Tesla, and again, had a major breakdown, came back to fill the gap, bounced off of support, so this is kind of an inside week. So as long as we hold over 330, we should continue moving to the upside on Tesla. So I am still bullish. Again, if you do break into this bar, I would say if you break below this 300, I mean, it could form another inside week, but anything below 300 becomes bearish into 200. But above 330, we should continue moving to the upside and continuing to make another high on Tesla. So no changes on that. In Tesla, I am still kind of looking for this to become a 1, 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5 to the upside. So that's what we have for Tesla. The next one I have is Roblox, and again, I just think it's a little bit extended. You look at the 4-hour chart, that's not to say we are going to sell off. I just think that if I had to wave the stock, I would say this is my 1. Again, this is in a wave 3. This is my 1, 2. I do think that wave 3 could come down for a wave 4 and a wave 5. So I think Monday or Tuesday, this Roblox could hit its head. 100 is a psychological level of risk. Could hit its head, come down to digest a bit before it continues to the upside. So I am still pretty much looking for Roblox to still continue moving to the upside. In the longer term, I just think in the shorter term, a little bit of digestion is not unheard of, right? Given that has been on a pretty bullish bend for a while. But yeah, we did just break out of a sideways channel, so it is no surprise that it's continuing to break out. But yeah, I'm just looking for minor selling. But yeah, take it with a grain of salt because the trend is to the upside on Roblox. The next one I have is Google. We had this last week. It did end up breaking out. We did have a nice move, 5% move to the upside, but then it came back in. Now we are holding above the breakout level again. So if we do hold above 176 this time we could have a much larger move into 185, 190. Last time we hit our head against resistance, but this time if we don't break down and we hold this level, we should have a very bullish move. Again, if this level fails, you can see this kind of a shooting star. We could have a very major bearish engulfing. So kind of a pivotal point, upside or downside. on Google. And last but not the least, I have TTD, and again, this does look like a breakdown, which means that we could have further selling to start the week. So you can see that the 0.382 level is at 64. So I do think that TTD, again, you can see that it is kind of having a gap down this morning. So I would say as long as we remain below 66, you can see here we did gap up on earnings there. So if you go to the daily chart, we do have a gap to fill here on TTD. So as long as we stay below this, I would say 66 level, we are going to come fill this gap at 59 before we bounce. So that's the reason I have TTD on this week's watch list. That's all I have for this week. I hope you have a great day.
Join Chase to trade with Rithika and other experts. Subscribe to LaDuc Trading YouTube channel for more Wolf's weekly wave list videos and other content.